Hello, welcome to the Hawthorn Cottagecraft Podcast. Today is Tuesday the 30th of October and this is episode 28. I'm Kate and you can find me on Instagram as Kate_Hawthorncottagecraft, on Ravelry as ARunnerBean, and we have a Ravelry group for the podcast which is Hawthorn Cottagecraft Podcast. And there you'll find show notes and any chit chat and any little long news, etc, etc. Thank you for coming along and joining me today in the cottage. If you're here for the first time, you're very, very welcome. Today's episode is a little bit unusual in that it's predominantly a Rhinebeck recap. You may have seen enough of those. That's predominantly what the episode is about. So if you want to see a more normal episode, look back at some of the past episodes. If you're a returning viewer, it's lovely to see you again. It's always good to have your company. As I've said, today is predominantly a Rhinebeck recap, so I hope you have your cuppa and are settled in, because I think it will probably be a long, rambly episode. But I do want to start with a few things other than Rhinebeck per se. The first thing I want to talk about is a new knit-along that will be starting. If you have been here for a while, you will know that Selma Selma is Little Big Knits. I always assume everybody knows. Selma is Little Big Knits on Instagram and she has a podcast, Little Big Knits. She and I ran a knit-along beginning of the year, over the end of last year, beginning of this year, for Garments Galore, where you had to knit or crochet an adult garment, no accessories, just garments. And this year we're thinking of running another one, but I'm going to pause here and let Selma and I from the past tell you all about that.
Oh dear, outtakes.
Hello.
Hello.
We have decided to have a Garments Galore KAL again.
Yay. 1st of January.
1st of January until
31st of December.
31st of December. The whole year of 2019.
Ask Santa for yarn.
Ask Santa for yarn. Or stash dive.
Or stash dive.
Well, Santa. We're going to have different categories this year. We'll have the main category, right?
Yep.
And
knitting for men.
Oh, that was a suggestion in YouTube and we thought it was an interesting one.
And my husband needs more than one pair of socks. So he's going to get a sweater sometime.
Yes, because a garment has to cover the torso, not accessories, right? Yeah. And then our other category is going to be a yoked category.
Mm-hmm. And in the summer months, we will run a separate thread for summer garments.
That's right. And there'll be prizes at some point.
Yes. So if you're a maker and have something you'd like to showcase, we're more than willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
For prizes.
And if you're thinking about sweaters, this is the place for you to be.
So you've got 2 months to think about what you want to knit. Make your list.
Pretty much, yeah. And it goes all year. So if you're not ready to start a sweater in January, but you are a little later, join in whenever. Yeah. And are whips welcome? We haven't discussed that. I think they should be.
I think so too. I think so too.
You okay with
as
that?
long as there's more than, slightly more than 50% left to do, not just a cast off.
Yeah. But I think it's a great way for people to finish up those. Maybe you actually didn't finish your project from the last Garment Galore KAL.
True.
Mm-hmm. You can finish it now.
Yeah.
All right.
See you then.
See you in 2019.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you have your cuppa. As I said, this could be quite a long episode and there's lots I want to tell you about, but there's just such a journey to bring you on. As you all know, are very aware, I'm sure, I went to Rhinebeck again this year. And I left here the Monday before Rhinebeck. I can't actually remember what date that was. I think it was the 15th of October. And I was travelling again via Ottawa and staying with Selma, and we were travelling down to Rhinebeck that weekend. So I set off on the 15th, and while I was on my way, I did some knitting, and I wanted to share the knitting that I did travelling and while I was there. I had told you my plans on the last episode, and I began both. I began one on the plane and began the other one really when I was there. It wasn't really plain knitting. So I started my socks. I had a pair of socks that I wanted to knit. I'm housing these. You're actually seeing a bit of the Rhinebeck haul here. I'm housing these in a bag that I received at Rhinebeck. Isn't this just beautiful? One of the viewers, and I'm just reaching for her card, one of my viewers very, very kindly made and gifted me this. This is made by Susan Mindel, hopefully I've pronounced your surname right, who is Knit and Sip on Instagram, and she knits one on Ravelry. And isn't that just beautiful? It's so special. A travel bag, and she put Rhinebeck on it, and I have my Rhinebeck pin, and just the little finishing touch of a passport ring pull. So thank you very, very much, Susan. It went straight into use for my sock project. But en route, as I said, I cast these on. I cast them on and started to work on them at the airport in Dublin while I was waiting. And I'm knitting the socks in this yarn. It's Fine Fish yarns, and it's an autumn colourway. Don't have the little tag that was with it. So it was a smaller skein. It wasn't a full 100 grams. It was a smaller skein, a little mini for the contrast. And I cast them on, and I have one of them now complete. I'm very organised today. Just get my sock blocker. I decided to do a vanilla latte pattern, so it was a 6x2 rib. I wanted something easy enough that I didn't have to have a pattern with me on the flight, but not so monotonous as a plain vanilla sock. And this is my first sock. They are what they say on the colourway. It's autumn. So it was a 2x2 rib, 64 stitches, 2.5mm needle, it's US 1.5, and I did a heel flap and gusset. I took the pattern for it out of the Crazy Sock Ladies socks and the rounded toe. Just worked their numbers. So I'm really, really pleased with the first sock, and I am almost at the heel flap of the second. I have my little Hawthorn Cottage progress keeper on there just to entertain me. So I'm really, really pleased with the socks. They were perfect for travelling with. I had no issues getting my needles through security, and I actually ended up talking to a knitter on my way home at the airport, and she was using metal needles and she's never had an issue with those, but I don't like taking the risk, so I take the wooden needles. I use my Leica needles or Leica needles. So that was project number one. The second project is in another new bag that I had pre-ordered before I left here, and that was delivered to Selma's for me, and I've wanted one of these for a very long time. It's one of Sandy, who is by the lakeside, and by the lakeside, I think our podcast called By the Lakeside as well. It's one of the podcasts I would watch religiously, and her whole aesthetic is beautiful, and this is one of her signature bags, and it's just really robust. I love the grey, I love the little tassel, and it's lined with a beautiful gingham. So I was thrilled. It actually arrived at Selma's when we were at Rhinebeck, and she had included her little pin. So it's housing the other travel project I had. I had wanted to knit another Cecily Chloe McDonald pattern, which is the breakwater. Very simple, top down raglan sleeved sweater, stocking stitch. Once you get past the first few rows of the neck, it was stocking stitch, and I wanted something simple that I could just sit on work on at night when we were talking and didn't require an awful lot of effort. And I'm knitting it in this yarn, which is John Arbon Textiles, and it's the Harvest Hues, and I think the colourway was pomegranate, and it's a beautiful autumnal red, and I'm actually thinking this will be a nice Christmassy jumper because it verges more into the reds. So I got it started, and I've made good headway with it too. As I said, it's a very easy knit. So I'd got to just the sleeve divide before I came home, and then I put the sleeves on hold. So it's working really well. It's being knit on 4.5mm needles, which is a US 7, I think. Again, I'm using the Leica needles because I did carry this bag home in my hand luggage, and I didn't want, again, the risk of metal needles. And that's all I'm working on, all I'm actively working on. My Kate cardigan is still on the go, but it hasn't seen any work for the last little while. So that is really all kind of the normal stuff. The rest is all Rhinebeck and Rhinebeck related, and my trip basically. And I think I'll take a little drink because there's a lot to tell you. The first thing I want to address is what I'm wearing. This is my Rhinebeck sweater number 4, but I didn't knit it. Don't panic. I did not knit this. I'm going to stand up for a moment. This sweater was gifted to me when I was in Ottawa. If you follow Little Big Knits, this is the Little Big Knits podcast. If you follow Little Big Knits, you will know that she has shown some of the knitwear that her mum has knit in the past, and she has had stunning taste and stunning ability. But she showed me this sweater, and the sweater no longer fits her mum and no longer fits her, or doesn't fit Selma, and she gifted it to me, and I love it. It's black. This sweater might be 20-30 years old, and it's in perfect condition. So there's a little bit of a bell to the sleeve, but it's just perfect, and I love it. So that's kind of another Rhinebeck sweater. As I said, I left on the 15th and went straight to Ottawa. Had an encounter on the plane. I hope they don't mind me telling this story. I was on the plane and I had a very pleasant air steward, and he stopped to talk to me at one point and asked me was there something going on, because there were a number of people knitting around the plane. I didn't see anybody else, but there were a number of other people. And I said I wasn't aware of anything within the Toronto area that weekend, but I said I was going to an event in upstate New York the following weekend, but I was going the long way round. Now usually when I tell people I'm going to a knitting event, they glaze over and go, really? You're coming this far for a knitting event? No, not this time. He leaned forward and went, are you going to Rhinebeck? I was kind of, yes, I am. And it turned out it was Eric Lutz, who is Sticks Plus Twine, his partner Sebastian, and I came back with, oh, you're Sebastian, you're Eric's partner, and I think he was almost taken aback that I knew him, but I know of him through Eric's podcast. I've met Eric before, and that I met Eric again over the weekend, and it just was so funny that this huge world, you get onto a plane and you meet somebody who knows somebody that you know, and it just was a really pleasant start to the whole adventure. Got to Ottawa, was staying with Selma, and had a few days with her before the Rhinebeck weekend was coming up, And I had a great time. I reconnected with people. I saw Amy, who's the Jasper Patch. We had a girly afternoon the first full day I was there. Selma and Amy and Holly and we exchanged gifts. And Crystal. Did I miss Crystal out? Sorry, Crystal. We were all there. And we exchanged gifts, and we also did a bit of the girls put in yarn that they weren't using anymore or weren't going to use, and different bits and pieces, and we did a bit of a swap. But I did, as I say, get a few gifts, and what do you think? Amy knit this for me. Isn't he just brilliant? Not knowing that I love gnomes. I love little ceramic gnomes, and I have quite a few of them in the house. So this gnome is going to take pride of place in the craft room here. I was delighted. Look at all that cabling. I would not have the patience to knit this. So I was thrilled. Wee arms. So Amy gave me that. Holly made me a bag. She also gave me a pin. She knows I'm a Narnia fanatic, as C.S. Lewis is from Belfast. And this is the wardrobe, and you can just see Narnia inside. So that was special. And she also brought me pumpkin spice nut pod, which I was able to get home. Selma had little bits and pieces for me. It was like Christmas. David's tea and a tea press and a book and candles. And Crystal brought us, where did I put it? It was in front of me. Brought one of these for each of us, and there had been an initial thought that we would go to Montreal and go to Espace Tricot, and that unfortunately didn't happen. I was actually too tired, so I was quite glad it didn't happen to an extent. But this is what I would have bought if I'd been there, so she must know our taste well. It's a little notions pouch by Jezebel B, and it's fabulous. Now I've the stitch markers that I got at Rhinebeck in it, but it's just a great little notions pouch. And Crystal has one and said that although you would think it would do, nothing falls out of it. So that was a lovely treat to get, and she also brought each of us a wrist ruler. So now I have my brown one and I have this lovely grey one. So as I said, spoiled rotten by everybody there. I had a couple of days pottering around Ottawa. I went downtown as I did last year, got my beaver tail, and I met up with friends, went out for dinner with Nicole, the gentle knitter. It was lovely to catch up with her again. There was a beautiful vegan restaurant down the street, and because of my dietary issues, a vegan restaurant's a place I can go, and really enjoyed that, and just catching up and spending time. I did a little bit of damage. I'm going to apologise here now. This really is, I don't do big haul videos, or I'm not even that comfortable doing big haul videos, but there's just, that's what this is going to be heavy on. I'm sorry, I apologise for that now. I did a little bit of damage. The one thing I forgot to show you from the things, I got yarn from the table, the general mishy-mashy table, but I also got this. I have heard of zigzag stitches, but never seen her bags, and Selma no longer was using this, so it's got a place in my home. But I also did some damage. I was going to say not a lot, but it was enough when you see what came after that over the weekend. Before I'd come, I did this last year too, I'd done a few pre-orders and got things sent to Selma's. Actually, when I open these, I find things that I got in Rhinebeck too. But I had discovered on Instagram, I think it's a Wolf and Fawn shop, and her aesthetic is just gorgeous. I love her Instagram feed. So go and have a look at I think it's Wolf and Fawn. I'll put it across the bottom. And I got this little pouch with the antler horn on it. Antler horn. The antler on it. I don't know whether it's from a moose or something Canadian. So it was a Canadian company, and it's leather, and it's just a lovely little pouch that I'll be able to put in one of my bags. I also from there got this. It's a stitch holder, but to me that is just so beautiful. It will be a shawl pin. And again in the bronzy colour, it's just some stitch markers and a little acorn, which I didn't, a little acorn, which I didn't realise was actually a Celtic symbol until I read the site, and it says, knitter's gonna knit, printed on it. I don't know if you can see that. And an antler button, which I'm going to use for this yarn, which I had ordered from Wild in the Woods. Isn't that beautiful? And it is, I think it's a worsted weight. I'm going to knit a hat. I'm thinking of knitting, is it the Antler hat by Tin Can Knits, and then putting on the button as a decoration. So I had those ordered and sent to Selma, so they had been sitting waiting for me. I also visited again Wabi Sabi, which is just a lovely, fabulous little yarn shop in Ottawa, and I love the girls in there. It's always a pleasure to go in and say hello. And I came out with a skein of sock yarn. So it's Ravenswood Fibre Company, and they are from Nova Scotia in Canada. And the colourway is Honour to Serve, and it's 85-15 merino nylon. It's really soft. I love the colours. That will probably become a pair of socks at some point. So those were the yarny buys. I love the area that Wabi Sabi's in. There's a lot of cute little shops. There's a feline cafe, and I lost my heart in the feline cafe. I'd never been in one before. Went into it this year, found a spot on the floor, and the most gorgeous kitten trotted up, climbed onto my knee, and promptly curled up and went to sleep. And if the kitten was still on my knee, I was still there. I was not for leaving. Brian stole my heart. My heart is in Ottawa with Brian the kitty. So I did the feline cafe. But the girls had also told me about a shop that they use, and I probably would have been better not knowing about. And it was Fabrications. It was a block away from Wabi Sabi. And I went and had a look. And their fabric was beautiful. So I came out with this one, a Maker. And this one, these two remnants, and I'm planning to make for myself this bag, which I got the pattern for. Can team it up with another one. I think I can do it in 2 colours, although some of the pictures are 3. So I got those. I also got this skirt pattern. I have quite a lot of canvas, denim-y, cotton canvas, that I'd planned to make jeans with, but that might not happen for a while, so I'm going to use it for this skirt and hopefully get a few skirts on the go. I'm really looking forward to getting back to sewing a wee bit more and dressmaking and improving my skills and that. So I got that, and I got fabric for pyjamas. Now the girls think I should make a shirt, but I don't think it's my style of shirt. But we don't get the selection, I think, of beautiful flannels here. They tend to have children's patterns on them, but isn't that just gorgeous? It's a mossy, greeny, grey, dusky, salmony pink. So that's going to be pyjama bottom. So I had spent a few days around Ottawa, enjoying myself, just feeling very at home at Selma's, and our family always make me very welcome. It's definitely a home away from home, and it's a place that very much has my heart. But the reason for the trip was Rhinebeck, and Monday to Thursday we were in Ottawa, and then the plan was for Friday to head down to Kingston. The event that kicked off the Rhinebeck weekend for us was Needles Up, an event that is hosted by Legacy Fibre Arts and is held in the Best Western Hotel. It had been somewhere different last year, and they moved to the Best Western, which had previously been the venue for Indie Untangled. But the Needles Up is quite a small event, and we felt this year we would try it instead of Indie Untangled. We hadn't been too happy with Indie Untangled last year, although by all accounts this year has been a great resounding success. They listened to what people had said and changed venue. There was more space. It was ordered and how many people got in at a time, and I think it was a really, really good event. But we had decided to give it a miss this year, and we decided to kick off our weekend with Needles Up. Now, Needles Up started at 12 noon for early entry tickets, which we had, but that meant we were leaving Ottawa at an ungodly hour. We left Ottawa just before 5 o'clock in the morning, and with very few stops, just kept pushing down as far as Kingston. It was always good fun. Road trips are great. Crystal, Selma and Holly and I travel well together, and we had a lot of fun and a lot of chat, and the Holly was a star and did all the driving over the entire weekend for us, and she's just a star. So we headed to Needles Up, and it was brilliant. It was just so lovely getting to meet people I had never met before, and to get to see people that I had already met last year, and just to renew acquaintances there. Needles Up is a small event. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 vendors, counting in my head, difficult. 7 vendors, Sucra Miniatures, the little stitch holder, stitch marker maker, couldn't make it due to family commitments. But there were, I think it was 7 other vendors there, and all of them very carefully chosen and very exciting to see. There were things that I had very much on my list to do. When we got there, we had a little bit of time to kill, and we met a few people and got to chat. The lineup is fun at Needles Up because the ladies from Yarns Ladies from the Yarn Cafe podcast, I'm not sure, I'll put the name of the podcast down here. We're there with Kay, who's the crazy sock lady, and the creator of all those wonderful knitting patterns that I love. And they were doing spot prizes along the line for people, just asking random questions, and people were shouting out answers and winning prizes. And a lot of people had donated bags and yarn and notions and things, and it was good fun, and it passes the time when you're lining up. But we got in, and I had three things on my list that I wanted to get. And I was very, very strict in my head with myself that I wasn't going to go over that, because I wanted to do things over the rest of the weekend. I didn't want to buy too much brightly coloured, speckled, hand-dyed yarn. I was mainly looking for the yarn for sweaters the following day. So I went in with a plan. The plan was shot. It just went out of the window. The thing that I had really wanted to get was Legacy Fibre Arts. I had knit my Miss Lily P socks, and it was lovely to meet Chelsea and Sue. I'd met them briefly at Rhinebeck last year when Chelsea was still heavily pregnant, and this year we met Miss Lily P, and I had a little gift for her. I had made a doll, and I'll insert a photograph of that here. And this doll had a dress that I had knit the top of it from the Miss Lily P colourway. And I really enjoyed working with that yarn, so I wanted to go back and get more sock yarn. And I had watched their podcast recently and had noted that they had a Christmas range out based on the Polar Express. And in our house, when the Christmas tree goes up at the end of November, it gets earlier every year, beginning of December, we dress the tree, get everything ready. I have hot chocolate waiting in the slow cooker, and we watch Polar Express every year and have hot chocolate and just start our Christmas season that way. Legacy Fibre Arts have based their Christmas colours on the Polar Express, and they had one called Hot Chocolate. So I had to have this. I'm going to cast this on when we're putting up our Christmas tree. And I love the lovely deep pinky brown colours, and maybe it's the marshmallows on top of the hot chocolate. And this is their Cozy Toes base, which is 80-10-10 superwash merino, cashmere and nylon, and it is so soft. So that had been very much on my list. I wanted to get that, and I was delighted that I did get it. I then moved to the other place that I wanted to see, and it was the Fibre Nymph Dye Works stall. And I have watched Lisa's podcast from very early on in my podcasting viewing, and I've always admired her self-striping yarn, but I've never been able to get some. So she was very much on my list. I wanted a skein of Legacy Fibre Arts, and I wanted a skein of Fibre Nymph. And when I went there, this is what I got. Isn't that just glorious? Autumn colours. The colourway is Mountain House Winter, and it's her Bounce base, which is 80-20 superwash merino nylon. And I just love those colours. They're so rich. And those will knit up into a beautiful pair of self-striping socks. And it was lovely to meet Lisa and have a little bit of a chat. You don't get too much time to chat at these events, but it was just really lovely to meet you, Lisa. And hopefully we'll be able to meet again. So that was part of what I'd gone in for. The other thing that I had gone in for that I really, really wanted to get, if you watch Legacy Fibre Arts podcast, and I'm sure most of you do, you will see that Chelsea is a lover of pottery, and I am a lover of pottery. My haul coming home was basically yarn and pottery. I was very carefully handling pottery, which you'll see a bit later on my hand luggage coming home. It was really a bit silly, but it's Rhinebeck. But there was one piece of pottery that I had gone for, and that was at Needles Up. And Chelsea is very keen and seems to love a potter called Doghouse Pottery, and I really liked what I saw on her podcast. So that was very much on my schedule. And I got my mug, and this is just beautiful. I just love the glaze. What I love is that the mug is sturdy. I don't like fine china. I like a mug to have heft, and this mug has heft, and it has a really good handle. So I was delighted to get this. It was actually the first stall I went to. When I remember, it was the very first place I went because I was so desperate to get a mug, more so than the yarn, surprisingly. Wanted the mug. So those were the 3 things that I went to Needles Up for. But I got tempted and enabled by other people, and I had to have a look around the other stalls. One of the things that I had decided I wasn't going to do, although I love her bags, the Fat Squirrel vends at Needles Up, and because I can make bags and do make bags and have made bags in the past, and I have a trunk full of bags, I had decided I wasn't going to go and get a Fat Squirrel bag because I thought I can make a bag for myself if I want one. Particularly with fabrics that, well, I can't get her fabrics, but I can get fabrics that are similar. If I buy a bag now, it's with something or an idea or a bag pattern that I haven't seen before, or with fabric that I wouldn't have thought of putting together. So I was not buying a Fat Squirrel bag, and then I saw her stall, and the fabrics that Amy Beth uses are stunning. They are beautiful. They're fabrics I've never seen. They're quite canvasy, so they're strong. She had varying sizes. Her bags are very generous. She had a very beautiful bag that I think Holly may have bought that would hold a blanket, never mind a sweater, and it had a beautiful owl print on it. But I couldn't resist. Knew I wouldn't probably use a huge bag, but I thought you can never have too many sock bags, small shawl bags. So this is the bag I got from the Fat Squirrel. And if you don't know, the Fat Squirrel has a podcast as well, which is always really fun to watch. She's a very, very bubbly, vivacious person, and as kind and warm as she looks on the screen. So I was so pleased to meet her and to get one of her bags, and they really are well made. They're really sturdy. It's a canvasy cotton canvas. They're lined just with cream and a carry strap. So I was really chuffed with my Fat Squirrel bag. But I was lured back. I just was spending too much time wandering around, and I was having a chat, and I had met Rachel from Treehouse Knits. And Rachel and I seem to have quite similar taste because we seem to buy a lot of 20 kind of projects. But I was looking at what other people had bought, and I ended up back at Legacy Fibre Arts, and I fell down a hole. I just fell down a hole. I saw these mini skeins Snazzy Toes, and they have sparkle, and that just colourway combination just went for me. I can't actually read the name of the colourway, sorry. But it's 75-25-5, so it's superwash merino nylon and a little bit of stellina. And I'm going to knit socks with these over the Christmas period as well. Last year I'd done an Advent swap, and with the little minis I had knit a pair of crazy socks, and I love them, so I'm going to knit crazy socks with these over Christmas with a little bit of sparkle. So that was that. And then I blame Selma thoroughly for this. I had spotted this and had lifted it and put it down and lifted it and put it down in the single skein form. It's the plaid flannel. I love the colours. But there was a kit. And if you've watched the Little Big Knits podcast, you will know that Selma has let me see, what's the best way of terming it? Love affair, obsession with mohair. And there was a kit for the mohair and the plaid flannel together. This is cloud base, it's lace weight 72/28 kid mohair and silk. And a number of people have paired these for hat projects, so that's what I'm going to do. It seems to be the real trend for mohair at the moment. So because of a little bit of not very difficult persuasion, I came out with this. I love the colours. So I'm going to make a hat with those. I have projects in mind for everything I've bought, so to me that justifies it. Don't think it justified it to my husband, but it justifies it to me. And you just can't come away without the tote. And I came away with a pin, which I have in another bag. So that's the Needles Up tote for this year. So Needles Up was a wonderful experience. There was a chance it was busy, but you could get round, you could get talking to people, and it was a lovely way to start, particularly considering when I had the early start and long drive. We were quite tired and it didn't feel rushed. We left there. It's funny, in the car park I met a lady, Hazel. Hi Hazel. And her husband John, and Hazel lives 5 minutes from me. I've known her for many, many years. She taught both my kids, and she had decided to come to Rhinebeck this year too with her husband and have a holiday. So it was lovely to actually meet. I'd hoped we would have met over the weekend again and got a photograph taken at Rhinebeck together, but we didn't. We didn't see each other after this, but it was good to catch up with her in the car park. You don't expect to meet people from home in a car park in Kingston, New York. We did that. We pottered around, had lunch. Kingston's a lovely little town. We had time before we got our Airbnb, so we hit Target. Target gives me a thrill because we don't have it here, and I just love it. So it was really good getting around Target. And then we went back to our Airbnb, which was lovely, really comfortable family home, which we had the run of, and just relaxed for the rest of the night. We were really, really tired. We had a very early night because of the early start, and we knew we'd have an early start the next day. So Needles Up was wonderful, and I will have inserted some photographs of that here. So Saturday morning arrived, we all had had a good night's sleep, and we were geared up, really excited about attending the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, Rhinebeck proper. We don't go for opening. Opening is at 9, there are long lines to get in. We don't feel the need. Those lines tend to be for people who really want to get into the Miss Babs queue, which is always ludicrously long, and Jenny the Potter. And this year there was a real flurry of excitement because Harrisville Designs had a few fringe supply bags in their new colour, which was like a berry burgundy, deep red colour, and there was only a limited amount of them, and I think they sold out within minutes of opening. So an awful lot of people are there at 9 o'clock, huge queues, which we had no desire to get into. We went and had a beautiful, lovely, leisurely breakfast at the Kings Valley Diner in Kingston, and we arrived at the festival at, I think it was around 10. Basically walked in, there was no queue at all, no wait anyway, there was no line. There was a line up but not a wait. So this was the festival programme this year, with their logo for 2018, and it was just wonderful being back. All the memories came flooding back. It was busy. The Saturday has an energy level which I think can't be equalled anywhere. There's a real level of excitement and a real buzz about the place. The one thing I did note, and I noticed on the Intuit Knit podcast, Laurie, who I've met a few times now, Laurie had said the same thing. There was no music this year. Last year there was, I think it was a Peruvian group playing the panpipes all day, and the atmosphere in the centre of the Duchess Fairgrounds was great. Atmosphere was still good this year, but it lacked the music, I think. Just a little side note. Loads of people milling around, starting to note faces, see people that I've seen before. It was selfie heaven. I took so many selfies, and actually I'm not including all the selfies in, you'll notice that they're not included in the video because I had started to create this video and I had uploaded all the photographs first, and I realised you'd have had nearly half an hour's worth of just selfies, and that's a lot. So I took the selfies out. They're all on Instagram. If you want to see lots of the lovely people I met, there were a few for some reason I didn't get photographs with, but it was lovely meeting everybody, and all the selfies are on Instagram. Anyway, this could be very rambling. When we got there, the first thing that I normally do is go and pick up the swag. I order the swag, and this year I got my bag. And it has a little ring pull with the pin on it, and I had got a pin and got my hoodie, my t-shirt, and just general swag that you have to do. These bags are fabulous. This was my carry-on coming home, and it proved to be extremely useful when you see what I got. So I was really, really delighted to get my swag. The rest of Saturday, like last year, there was a bit of yarn shopping done. There always is a little bit. But I actually don't know this year what else I did. I did a little bit of yarn shopping. I didn't get near the majority of the different barns. I kind of did a brief run through. There were so many things I missed on the first day because it was all about meeting folk. It was brilliant. Every 5 yards you met somebody. We got hugs, we had a chat, photographs taken, and you would stand and talk for 5-10 minutes, and then you would say, right, I'm going to go now and see such and such a barn, and you get 5 more yards, and you would stop having met somebody else. So it was just wonderful. That just makes Rhinebeck for me. The yarn is wonderful, and I came home with yarn. I love the yarn. I love going around the stalls and the different vendors, but it's not what Rhinebeck's about. Rhinebeck is so much about people. Actually, there were vendors I never saw. I deliberately didn't go near any of the indie dyers because I had splurged on that the night before. But it didn't matter. I didn't have time on Saturday. It was just literally walking about. The weather this year was cooler. On the Saturday it was definitely sweater weather, and I wore my apple cider donut cardigan, which was wonderful. This was the pattern I knit from the Rhinebeck Sweater book by Cecily Glowant MacDonald, and I loved it, and it really, really worked. Didn't have to wear a shawl. I had my cardigan on. So we just wandered around. We did go, one of the first places I did go vendors wise that I had wanted to get to quite early was Harrisville Designs. I love their yarn. Last year I had bought the yarn for my Engie by Jennifer Steingas. I think it's a Jennifer Steingas pattern. But when I had got home, I had thought that the colours that I had picked there wasn't enough contrast with the main body, because the main body's going to be quite dark. So my plan this year was to actually just go and pick up 3 more random colours in their flywheel, which is their fingering weight yarn. I think it's fingering weight. And then I can mix and match with what I already have. So these were the 3 colours I came home with. This one is Bancroft. It's a bluey grey. Don't know if that's doing it justice. This one is Birch Bark. I wouldn't mind a sweater in this. And this one is Farewell. And I'll hopefully, maybe over the next few weeks, you'll see what combinations I use. But some of them will be used within the Engie with the colours that I already have. So that was very much what I wanted to get from Harrisville. The Harrisville Designs booth was crazy. It wasn't, I don't think they had as big a booth as they had last year, which is crazy for such a popular brand. It was elbow room, very polite use of the elbows to get through. But they're well organised. You fill in a form and they go and get you the yarn from behind the scenes. So that had been my first port of call. I really wanted to do that. And the other place that I really desperately wanted to do in the first day was go back to Green Mountain Spinnery. Last year I got their worsted weight and I knit my fern and feather. And if you remember from my little book of plans, one of the plans I had was for the Numina by Kristen Tendyke. This little cardigan. You can find it in Ravelry. I think it's also on the Green Mountain Spinnery website. And I wanted some of their yarn for that. So I had looked actually at the mustardy yellow colour that they had, which is very much the colour that's in the pattern. And it is beautiful, but Selma actually took a photograph of me holding the skeins up against my face and it really didn't suit me. So I went for the blue. This is there a colourway on it? Blue Bayou. And it's their double knit music. 100% fine American wool. And that is going to be the Numina cardigan. So I got a sweater's worth of that and I'm thrilled with that. And to go with that, there was another stall, hopefully this isn't crinkling too loudly, that sold buttons. So I have my buttons already got. Melissa Jean, who makes handmade ceramic buttons. And I got a set of these. So they're the blue and they should go really nicely with my cardigan. So an outfit sorted. And that's actually all I bought on the first day. I received, when we got to the hill, which I'll talk about in a moment, people were handing out stitch markers and I received lovely stitch markers. I received the bag that you'll have seen earlier that has my travel project in it and I've talked a bit about it already. And I also met Laurie, who is into it, and Laurie's son attends Camp Hill community within Toronto, or near Toronto where they live. And within that community they make pottery. I think Laurie knows me. And I got mug number 2. Isn't that beautiful? And that is made at the Camp Hill community near Toronto. Last year she brought me a little beaker from it, pottery beaker, that I use almost every day. So that was beautiful. So I came away with a lot from the first day. Some of it I bought and some of it very kindly gifted chocolate and candy, and Lisa from Saratoga Knitting had a really thoughtful gift for my daughter. She's a Patriots fan, so she had a Patriots gift for her, and that is just the friendliness of people, just the community. It blows me away. We went to the hill at nearly 1. I think at 12 o'clock there was the Ravelry meetup. I didn't get there for that. We just waited and went just before 1 o'clock. And the hill was as crazy as normal. There was just people everywhere, faces you recognised, podcasters that I have seen that I've never met and that I would admire, and it was brilliant going to meet them. And lots of lovely people came up and said hello to me, which always takes me by surprise. But I love it, and it was a time of hugs and laughter and chat and looking at all the sweaters. The wonderful thing about Rhinebeck is you see the vast array of sweaters. Andrea Mowry had a get together with a lot of people who had knit her pattern, and there were Tecumseh sweaters by Caitlin Hunter everywhere. It's not a pattern that has ever really tempted me, but it was really interesting to see all the colours and going, well, now if I was to knit it, I would knit it in those colours, or no, wouldn't necessarily go for those colours, they wouldn't be me. It just is so interesting seeing all the different patterns and all the sweaters, and particularly when you're on the hill, there are so many people together in one place that you come away with quite a long queue of sweaters you'd like to knit. But it was fabulous seeing everybody, meeting everybody, having a chat. Again, you get a little bit of a chat and move on, so maybe not enough time to talk to everybody, but it's just part of the atmosphere, part of the wonderful, wonderful thing that makes Rhinebeck. So I spent well over an hour, nearly 2 hours on the hill just talking, and then wandered around again. We didn't eat at Rhinebeck. The queues for food are always really long. We did go to get our apple cider donut because I wanted a photograph with this, but the lineup was still crazy mid-afternoon. It goes all the way down the hill, and there were very, very dark clouds forming. And I briefly saw Christy Glass doing her Rhinebeck sweater video, and saw everybody really starting to run for cover, and we decided at that point, we'll get apple cider donuts on Sunday, we're not going to risk this. And we literally got into a barn and it poured, absolutely, the heavens opened and it poured. Everybody went through the barns. I didn't see many of the animals the first day, I kept that for the second day, and really after that we decided just to move on. We were tired. We decided to go, or we had planned to go to Woodstock. We'd gone there last year and hoped to go a bit earlier this year and have a wander around Woodstock and the beautiful little shops there. But we had a bit of car trouble, and by the time we got there, the shops were just shutting. But with dinner plans in Woodstock with Sue and Lynn, formerly the Two Tangled Skeins. Now Sue is the Tangled Skein CA and Lynn is the Wayward Skein, and it was really good to meet up with them. Literally that meal was the only time I saw them over the whole weekend. The next time I'm there, which may be a couple of years, but the next time I'm there we definitely have to spend more time together. But it was good to catch up with them. We'd stayed together last year at Rhinebeck, and just to have a little bit of time with them again. And that was Saturday. We crashed again very quickly when we got back to the Airbnb. We were so tired. But all in all, a really, really good start to the day, or the weekend of Rhinebeck, and you'll see some photographs and footage from that day here.
That's what I'll be doing. That's totally I like it. Be in love with it?
And you are?
Should be good. Let's tell you. We can make a shop on Instagram and we can make a shop on YouTube.
On Sunday, which was day 2 of the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, I wore my Duchess sweater, which was again from the Rhinebeck sweater book and was by Cheryl Burke and was knit in the Lopi and the Studio Donegal, and it was a perfect, it worked out so perfectly. Sunday was bitter cold. It was dry but extremely cold. There was a really sharp icy wind. So I was really pleased. I had my Lopi on, it kept me really snug and warm, and I had my Road to Rhinebeck shawl by Knitting Expat Mina on as well, so that really kept me snug and cosy, but it was a cold day. But we took the same form as we had on Saturday. We went for breakfast to the Kings Valley Diner and then arrived at the showgrounds, the fairgrounds, at 10 o'clock. Sunday is a completely different feel to it. It is... The excitement levels are much calmer and people are just wandering around. There's still chat, and I met up with some friends here and there through the day, and it was lovely just to catch up and say our final farewells and final catch-ups. But it's a much more relaxed, calm day, and I think people on the Sunday are more focused on their shopping, to be truthful. I think that's what Sunday is about for most people. And sure enough, that's what it was for us. One of the group on Saturday had spotted a vendor. I'm hesitating here because I can't remember if anybody had bought from it or they had just seen it on the Saturday. But there was a vendor, and I think she's become one of the most popular vendors of 2018 because I've seen quite a few photographs of purchases, and it was pottery. Again, I went for pottery, and the potter this time was Brown Bunny Pottery, and I'm not sure actually if she has an online shop. I haven't seen anything. I don't think she's on Instagram. She should be. Her work is beautiful. It's very quirky. It's all animal based, but it's not gaudy animal based. It's very subtle. Her mugs were stunning. Again, good strong mugs, and then just on the very edge of the mug would have been a little animal head, and 3 of our group bought a mug. But I thought, I now have 3 mugs because I had bought my Doghouse Pottery. Laurie had gifted me the beautiful mug from Toronto. Lynn gifted me a Starbucks mug from Canada on the Saturday night. So I thought, I've plenty of mugs. I don't need any more mugs. I flew to Ottawa and Toronto and Ottawa on my journey, and I had a large case and hand luggage. And I did have to think about hand luggage and how I was going to get things home. I was already worried about getting mugs home because obviously you want to get them home intact. So, sensible Kate, what does she do at Brown Bunny Pottery? She buys a utensil pot. Not exactly the smallest thing on the stall. There were beautiful little trinket boxes. There was a honey pot that was really lovely. There were mugs. But I fell in love with Ellis the bunny, so named by Selma. But just look at that little face and little tail. And this utensil pot now sits very proudly beside my cooker. Her pottery's beautiful, and I like the cream, the very natural colour of this pottery. So I had to try and figure out a way how I was going to bring this home. This came home in my Rhinebeck hand luggage, wrapped numerous times in bubble wrap just to keep it safely, and the bag got set down at every moment very, very carefully, and it stayed at my feet on the airplane because I was just so scared of this getting broken. Not the most sensible choice for a trip such as I was on, but how could you resist that wee face? So that had been our first port of call on the Sunday. I then went with Selma. We split up into two groups of two, and I went with Selma. She had knit a tunic last year, I think it was. It must have been before Rhinebeck last year, because she had planned to go back to this vendor last year on the Sunday, but she was ill on the Sunday and couldn't come back. So we went to this particular vendor together, and it was Persimmon Tree Farm, and they sell alpaca, and it's a strange stall in that a lot of the colours are very gaudy, and then just in little pockets of it you have this stunningly beautiful alpaca. And Selma was buying some for herself, and I bought this one. So it's Persimmon Tree Farm. It's 100% alpaca. I think Selma said it's almost a heavy fingering sport. And there are 660 yards in this. It is a huge skein of yarn, and it was they put some on special offer over the weekend, and this was one of them. This was reduced to a really, really good price, and this was my random buy that I hadn't planned on. I have no project assigned for it, but I think it'll be a little t-shirty top, and there should be enough, I hope, in that to knit with. So that was lovely. I love the grey. So Selma and I went to that together. We also went to Bijou Basin. Selma, on the trip down, and I think I've included a photograph, had been knitting fingerless mitts and finished them on the road down. And she had been knitting it with Bijou Basin that she had been sent to try out. And the texture of it was beautiful, the stitch definition was beautiful, and I thought I would try some. So we went to that stand, and we actually were there for quite a long time, and we met Carl, who is one of the owners of Bijou Basin, and he's just such an interesting man to talk to, and he can talk and I can talk, so it was lovely. It was just lovely finding out about his business and the history of it. And he breeds yak and then imports some yak because he wouldn't have enough supply of his own. But this is what I got. It's 50% yak down and 50% super fine merino. And I don't think there's a colour name on it, but it's a beautiful rich, that's a good colour there, rich brown. And I think I'll either knit mittens for first, or out of this I could actually get mittens and a hat, because Selma got 2 pairs of fingerless mittens, one for herself, pair for herself, and one for her daughter, and she says there's still some left. So there's definitely enough in this for a pair of mittens and a hat, and I think that might be what these become, and this becomes. So I was really pleased to get that. It's a different yarn for me. I think I've used a little bit of yak before, but not as much, and it'll be interesting to knit this up. And again, it was one of the most fun stalls that I was at, I think, and just getting a chance, as I said, to chat to Carl, and I'm hoping to try in the future some more of his bases. At that point, Selma and I split up and decided to attack the festival separately, and each of us had little things we wanted to do. I wanted to go to a Wing and a Prayer farm. I've heard so much about it. I follow it on Instagram and their yarns are beautiful. I had one more set of yarn to get, and I had in my mind what I wanted, but I wanted to see the Wing and a Prayer, and I came home with this little bag, and I'd been thinking of getting these for a long time, so I didn't mind this purchase. They're dryer balls, and they have a card with them. It's 100% Vermont wool in this dryer ball. Eco-friendly. I can add essential oils if I want a scent, and these should last for quite a while, I think. So I got those from a Wing and a Prayer. I wanted something from the stall, and that was that. I can get those into use now. And I also wanted to get some soap, and I got it from there as well. Just a bar of soap that smells very pretty. It's calendula and pumpkin tallow soap. So those were my purchases from the Wing and a Prayer. The colours and the yarn in that particular stall were beautiful. When I was up around those barns, I also wanted to go and see ARunnerBean, and I have a ARunnerBean bag, which I love. I really wasn't looking for a bag, but I thought I would have a wee nosy, and probably much to my benefit and very much to their benefit. All their bags were sold out. Everything had sold out on Saturday. There were a few kids' t-shirts and a little bit of fabric left, and that's wonderful to see that a vendor comes and is successful, and it probably was better for my bank balance as well. So I went and I looked around all those stalls, and then I went to look for the last set of yarn that I wanted to get. I had shown you in my plans that I wanted it, the baby cables and big ones too, by Suvi Simola, and it's this sweater. So quite simple, but a few cables in it. And I had looked around a bit on Saturday, and then on Sunday I went back to the place I had originally kind of earmarked for this purchase, and it was Greenwood Hill Farm, and again it was a double knit, and this is 100% merino in the silver colourway, and they are from, is it MA, Massachusetts? I'm not sure. So it's not beautiful, it's a very natural colour. So I got a sweater's worth of that and had a lovely chat with the owners there. So those were the purchases mainly. There was one other purchase. You're going to laugh. You're going to think I'm absolutely bonkers. On the Saturday I had picked up my swag, and I had ordered the little fabric project bag in the little cloth bags. And when I went to pick everything up, everything was tied inside a plastic bag. And I didn't bother opening it until we got to our Airbnb on the Saturday night. And when I got there, I discovered that the little cloth bag was missing. So I went up to the milk parlour where I had picked up the swag, and they sent me to the other souvenir tent. And I really wish they hadn't, because I did get my bag. There was no issue with that at all. They were more than helpful and gave me my bag. Guess what I bought? A mug. This was actually the Rhinebeck 2017 mug, and I hadn't seen these last year, and I fell in love with the colour of it, and the fact that it's got the New York Sheep and Wool Festival written on it. And if it had been any other years, I wouldn't have bothered because it wasn't applicable to me, but because I was there in 2017, I was able to justify it. So I bought a mug. 4 mugs and a utensil pot to get home. All I can say, it was fun, and there was a reason I had to pay for an extra bag on my flight home. So those were the purchases. I'll show you the little things I'd picked up actually over the weekend, the little pins. I'd made these little bags for the girls I was staying with, and these were the pins that I received. This was a little one from Jan Clay. Jan is from Pennsylvania, I think I'm right, and this bagel, I'm going to get all that, Philadelphia, and this bagel pin, she brought it, and then a few other ones. Bijou Basin, Call Creations, she had brought cow chips, which were what we call crisps, covered in chocolate, and those never made at home. Those were eaten on Saturday night. So all my little pins for this year, and as I said earlier, people had given me stitch markers, and we'd met up with Lisa from Fibre Nymph again, and she had given us little minis in a Rhinebeck colourway. So the purchases were done, and the rest of Sunday was just wandering around, soaking up the atmosphere for the final time, talking to people, having lots of fun. I think one of my highlights when I was meeting people over Rhinebeck was finally meeting Stephanie Pearl McPhee, the yarn harlot. I had seen her on Saturday twice, considered going to speak to her twice, and chickened out twice, and regretted it twice. She is someone I have admired for a very long time, really even before I got back into knitting properly. I blogged a long time ago, and I found her blog very early on and followed it even before I really got into knitting. So I followed her, I've read her books, I have laughed heartily at her books. And I saw her and I just got too nervous, and I didn't want to approach her. I thought, she's going to be really fed up with people stopping her. She's not going to get round this festival if people keep stopping her and saying hello and asking to get a selfie taken. And I was really reluctant. I saw her again on Sunday, walked past her and thought, not going to do it. And then thought, I can't not stop and speak to her. So I duly turned round and started to trot back to her, and thankfully somebody else had had the same idea, and they were the people who actually tapped her on the shoulder and stopped her. So I just moved in and had a chat and got her photograph, and she's a very gracious lady, didn't show any annoyance at being stopped, is a very funny lady. Even just the bit of chat that we had, I felt as though I was listening to her read one of her books. She's just a lovely, lovely lady. So that very much was a highlight of Sunday for me. We went to the apple cider donuts on Sunday and got into the lineup for the lineup for the apple cider donuts is one of my favourite places in Rhinebeck. It's near my favourite tree. I do have a favourite tree. And the lineup there is wonderful. You could be in the lineup for 45 minutes. It doesn't feel like that. There's always somebody to chat to. People you don't know. Everybody strikes up a conversation. Where are you from? What do you knit? How long have you been knitting? What are you wearing? And then just general chit chat. And it's lovely. And we met some wonderful people and had some really good fun talking in the line. Unfortunately, I didn't get everybody's names, but other people came along who I knew and stopped to chat, and that was a really lovely way to end out the festival. We all got together for that. And then shortly after that we left. It was bitter cold. It was lovely seeing everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who came up to say hello. Rhinebeck is one of my favourite places in the world. I think it's up there as my favourite festival. It's friendly, it's relaxed, it's just a really happy place to be, and it has been a lovely place to finish out almost this year for me, to be in a really happy place with people who are supportive and caring and just a huge community. Rhinebeck was wonderful. Thank you very much to everybody who made it that way. I would love it to be an annual event. I've been very lucky and have been very privileged to be there 2 years in a row. It won't be an annual event, unfortunately. Maybe 2 years' time, that's the dream at the moment, but who knows? Family circumstances, just who knows? Thank you so much for sticking through this. We left Rhinebeck and I went back to Ottawa for a couple of days. We travelled up on the Monday, took our time going back up Holly again, stopped at every hole in the hedge so that I could take photographs. And then I had a few quiet days in Ottawa, seeing Amy again, the Jasper Patch, and spending time with Selma's mum. And then I left on Wednesday, and it was almost a full 24-hour trip. So I came home really tired, but it was worth it. And I'm glad you've come along in this journey with me. And next episode, hopefully normal service will resume. See you then.